What's good, YouTube? Russell Winter here, and this is episode 1 of our series on family business succession planning. In this episode, we are going to go over bringing up the conversation to ownership and a few key points that you should talk about and make clear to them. So let's get right into it. First of all, it's important to know what you want from this deal. What are your intentions with taking over the business? Do you have goals for the business? Do you want to grow it or do you want to maintain it? Coming into the conversation with a clear idea of what you want out of it, what you are looking for in a deal is important, because if you don't even know what you want, how are you going to communicate confidence to the owner that you can run? Or even that you're interested. After you have a good idea of what you're looking for in the deal, ask what the owner's plans are. Does the owner have plans to retire? Does the owner have someone in mind? Maybe they just plan on closing shop and liquidating all the assets at an auction. That's not a bad plan, but also they could potentially get more for their company by letting someone else take it over and pay them back over time. I recommend writing a plan. Have this plan that you can give them. It shows them that you've put thought into this. As little or as much as you might know about the company and how it operates, it shows them that you're not just coming at this from a perspective of, I want to be a business owner. I think that would be cool. Put thought into it, think hard about it, read books on it, show them that you're dedicated and that you have really thought about this. And the last thing is really just prove it. Prove that the goal and the plan that you've put together is sensible, well thought through, and although there's going to be holes in it, the idea is that you can show them that you're serious and that you're capable. So read books, take classes, work a lot. Take the closing shifts, take the opening shifts, work 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day. That's what it's going to take when you're the owner. People quit their jobs to work for themselves because they were working too much, because they were working 8 or 10 hours a day, and they start working for themselves and have to work 12 or 16 hours a day. That's how it is. When I took over the family business, I paid myself a third of what I was making when I was working for my dad. So the point is, now you feel the burden of the finances and it's up to you to make them work. The owner knows all these things, but the employees don't always get that. So being an employee, you might not understand the weight of ownership. So if you show the owner that you can work hard and that you're dedicated and that you're committed, that will go a long way in increasing their confidence in you, that you'll be able to take over their role and their legacy of this company that they've more than likely spent a good portion of their life building. Oftentimes it has to do with caring for the people that they've hired as well. You spend more time with your coworkers than you do with your family. So they've put a lot of time into growing these relationships often. And if you're gonna take it over, you have to show them that you also care about these people. To give you a better idea of what's going through an owner's mind, here are a few things to consider. Oftentimes, as an owner gets older, he or she if they haven't spent time training someone to take over the business, if they haven't for the past 5 or 10 years already been working on a succession plan, it's possible that they're realizing that it's a little bit too late to develop one on their own. It's a little bit too late for them to go find someone and train someone, because maybe they're only planning on being there for another couple years, or maybe they're ready to leave now. It's also possible that the owner has tried it in the past, and sometimes after training someone for a couple years and they get good at what they're doing, they find a job somewhere else that's better for them, and it leaves owner once again with no options for succession. It might also be a family relationship thing where someone is set in line because they're the son or the daughter or somehow related to the owner. The owner might feel an obligation to that person that they would get to run the company. I've talked with owners before where their concerns were for their employees and for their customers, and because they couldn't find a buyer or someone to take over who would care for their people and their customers just as much as they did, they would rather close the company that was profitable and debt-free and just liquidate it than give it to somebody who would run it in a way that they wouldn't approve. Also, I've talked with another owner that the business was providing him and his son with good standard of living, and if they couldn't get a certain amount for the business, it wasn't worth them selling, even though he was in his 70s. His idea is run the company until he dies. In that situation, because it's just him and his son would probably move off and do a different job, it's not the worst case scenario for the business. I think that it's a little bit sad losing a company that you've built for 20 or 30 years. From an owner's perspective, it's not so bad to have a good living and do what you love to do, and when you're done running it, just to sell off the asset. Something else that might be going through the owner's mind if they own the building that the business operates out of is they might be willing to finance the purchase of the business and lease the building back to you if you're going to run it. So in that way, the owner gets payouts over time on the business, but also you're paying them rent. So that's a common situation, and that provides the owner with a little bit more income than if they only have the business. So we talked a little bit about knowing what you want, asking what the owner's plans are, having a plan to give them. It shows that you've thought thoroughly about this and that you're serious about it. And the last thing that we talked about was really just prove it. Prove that you're capable and that you're committed and that you care. Read books, work long hours, take a class or two. Those are, from my perspective, the most valuable things you can do to really build that foundation in the initial conversation with the ownership. So that's about it for episode 1. The next episode, we're going to talk about negotiations. After you have this conversation, if things go in the direction that you hope, where the owner is willing and open to talking about you taking over the business, we're going to start talking details on the key points you need to go over in your negotiations and how to even begin them. If you got any questions or comments, or if you're in the process of taking over your family business, I would love to hear about it. Leave a comment down below. It would be great to hear from you. I wish you the best.